out like a player. I'm not your bestie, not your sis, I'm not the one, I am the...
So if you graduated with me in 2019, you know the story I'm about to tell. So I don't really know if there's any other high school that had this app, but it's called the Rave app, and it allowed like employees to basically send out a message or just lock down the school from anywhere where they were. But they would receive messages from like the principal and stuff to communicate about emergencies like the one I'm about to say. So they were doing a code red drill, and I guess the principal had sent out a message through the Rave app that there was a shooter in building 1. There was not a shooter in building 1. So after this whole code red drill was over, some kids went to lunch. And if you've ever been in a cafeteria, you can't hear jack shit. So the only things that kids heard over this announcement saying that it was practice was code red, and then someone said that they heard not drill. This is where things get very hectic and very bad very fast. Like for part 2. Fake code red, part 2. So once these kids went to lunch and heard the announcement and everything, the administrators had their walkie-talkies, of course, but they heard the same things that the kids heard. On top of that, there was, I think it was a technician that went around, and he would always wear a black trench coat. So on top of a guy walking around with a black trench coat and kids not really knowing if it's actual code red going on again, there's helicopters flying around. So helicopters sparked kids to be even more terrified, and kids started shoving people into doorways and shoving people into glass emergency boxes, and kids were breaking bones, like literal legs, and I think there's a couple broken wrists. And at the time, our school was having construction done for new buildings, and the guy I was talking to said that he had to jump the fence of the construction site to sprint home. Kids were like banging on doors to get into classes because they had no idea what was going on. Like for part 3. So I think this will be the final part of the story, because after this it's pretty much straightforward. So at the end of the day, technically the school was supposed to send out a message saying that we had a code red drill. None of the parents had gotten that phone call except for the kids going home telling their parents what had happened. And with a matter of hours of school being out, we had news crew interviewing kids that day who were in the cafeteria when this all happened. Meanwhile, you had students who were in class who had no idea this was happening in the cafeteria. So when it came to the news covering our high school, our principal was basically on the spot, and she had to make the next big move. So what she didn't do was she didn't issue a formal apology to the student body or to any of the kids who were injured in this whole incident. And she resigned when I graduated.
So, hi. My high school had a lot of scandals, but unfortunately or fortunately, they don't compare to the ones that I've seen on TikTok, but that's okay. This one makes me laugh. It is so fucking funny to me, so I'm gonna share it. This girl got caught vaping in class, whatever, but she had a mod. Okay, if you don't know what a mod is, it's like a big, chunky, hefty ass vape. And the way she tried to play it off and say that she wasn't vaping and didn't have it was just powerful. She stuck the mod up her coochie. Yes. I don't know the rest of the story. I know everything I need to know. People with vaginas are so fucking powerful. That's it.
So there was this girl in like sophomore year, she got pregnant, and then she kept the baby, and her baby daddy both turned out to be gay. And not only that, but like she has an OnlyFans, like she sells her body and shit. Like that's fucking wild.
Okay, get this shit. The German teacher was sleeping with a student, and guess how they found out? Well, the German teacher was married to the math teacher, and the math teacher ended up getting herpes. And they all found out, and the student had herpes, and he got herpes, and nobody got in trouble because she was 18, and it happened after hours, after practice that he was coaching. And they're still married. The tension's high.
Since North Bend is so disgusting, we had more than one. But here's another one. So I think a year or two before I got to the high school, I was in middle school. This kid that was graduating decided to make a Dropbox of all the girls in North Bend's nudes. And a whole bunch of people got access to it, whatever. But as his senior quote, he decided to write, I probably have your girl's pics. So then this whole investigation went down, and the police and the school found the Dropbox. And now North Penn is not allowed to have senior quotes. I think you can literally look it up on Google if you look up like North Penn Dropbox or something like that. But that shit was crazy. This is the ABC article. This is just like explaining it. It was crazy.
Ah yes, Grimsley High School. The question isn't what was our scandal, but which scandal should I talk about? The two biggest ones that come to mind are the cookout prostitution ring and the athletic trainer that was sexting with students. Your choice. So apparently y'all want more details on just one of my school's many scandals. Just a disclaimer, this happened the year before I got to the school. So with that in mind, here's what happened. Basically, this guy was running a social media prostitution ring, and he paid these two girls $20 so they could go get cookout. They found out because both these girls were best friends, and I ain't never seen two pretty best friends. Always one of them's gotta be ugly.
So in high school, we had a 25-year-old acting like he was a 17-year-old in high school. Our school did not know his real age because he lied to our administrators and told them that all his documents were lost during the Houston hurricane. So they just let him in school as a junior. And we got caught because one time we were at a basketball game and he played basketball at our school. And an old coach spotted him out and was like, whoa, like he graduated from my school, like 10 years ago. And then our school was like, what? And then he got in trouble and he has to go to jail. And you know, our school's on the news, we're on everywhere, and he had all these girlfriends at our school. You know, all the girls were crying about him. They're like, what the heck, I was in love with a 25-year-old. Yeah, it was very crazy. It was fucking wild. Okay, we were on the news, we were in many news, we were probably on CNN too. We were hot. Okay.
Hey, stupid! I'm talking to you. Listen, if you keep watching videos because you're bored, you'll never be able to have the things that you want. Now listen, I know some of you are pissed off. I started at the bottom with nothing, just like you, a lot of you. The reason why I have this is because one thing, my mindset. I've learned how to manifest the things that I want by using my mind in a very unique way. Look here, let's say billion. I gotta believe that I'm a billionaire right now, just like you gotta believe that you're rich, you gotta believe that you're successful, you gotta believe that you're prosperous right now, exactly where you are. I don't care if you have nothing, you have to believe it to your core. There are frequencies and there are sounds that will allow your mind to declutter. You can't get these fancy cars, you're not gonna be able to travel around the world with a cluttered mind. Let me help you in the link below to create and give you the sound that would allow you to picture through meditation everything that you want. Let's go! Let's go!
Okay, so basically there were so many scandals at my school, but this was just actually the one I was in, because there was an AP Psych teacher who had an article that my friends had to annotate, because I wasn't in the class, but they sent me the link, and I read it, and I took screenshots, and I posted it to Twitter, and I talked about how it was a sexist piece of shit. And I wasn't wrong. It basically talked about drinking in college and having a boyfriend and sexual, like, assault cases and, like, what different things could mean or insinuate, and it was basically blaming women. And I took those parts and I posted it, and I said, I have an issue with this paper, and my friends told me that there wasn't allowed to be a discussion. He got very defensive, and he was, like, yelling at the students till one of them cried and left the room. And then when I posted that, somebody pulled me into the office the next week, and he said it was defamation of character and libel, even though I never mentioned his name or him, and that he was gonna try and, like, he was pretty much threatening to sue me. And this is a lot, so a part 2 if you want it. Basically, he pulled me out of class illegally because I wasn't his actual student, so he printed out my schedule and found me and came into my class and pulled me out, and he's like, do you know who I am? I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm the teacher you cyberbullied last night. I'm like, I did not. He's like, people were calling down me fired. I'm like, well, not me. And he's like, and like there was a mix-up. Some people, because I didn't name him, thought it was a different teacher and they were calling for their removal. And then they gave me a whole lecture on like social media responsibility, and they lectured me for an hour, and I was sobbing, and they made me apologize, and they pulled in other people because I couldn't be alone with him, and they wouldn't let me call my dad, and they wouldn't like let me be on my phone. They tried to take my phone and look at it, and there was like a whole thing, and he was using all this legal jargon and like saying he could sue me for all these things. And then when I came home, my dad was like, what the fuck? And there was like a whole week of meetings, and I wasn't even allowed into the meetings, and like my dad and the teacher in the district were all fighting, and I didn't want to take it to the district because his daughter's wedding was the next week, and I felt bad. It was just a whole mess.
My health teacher was involved in a really big sex scandal. Here. High school teacher had drink and drug-fueled orgies with 5 students and had sex with one in shower and on kitchen counter. That is my health teacher. We also had a baby carrot vending machine that made news right around the same time. So 2010, 2011 was a great year.
So I went to a small school and we had a softball team. All of our sports teams were like really small just because like we didn't go nowhere. And so they decided that they wanted to get drunk before a softball game. So all of them were in the locker room, you know, they're all drinking Fireball, not thinking that they're gonna get drunk or anything like that their coach is not gonna find out or anything like that. So they get onto the field. First of all, they're not very good, obviously, because, yeah. So they get on the field and obviously they're acting strange. So they go back into the locker room after they lost the game and their coach finds the Fireball. Let's just say there was no more softball team after that, and all the girls were suspended.
If you enjoyed the video, leave a like. And subscribe. We publish new videos every day.